You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.
The Chicago Bears now have $80 million in cap space. It's time to spend. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Keek on the Mic is on pace for 13,000 subscribers. I need your guys' help in getting there. I appreciate for all the support and time you give to the channel. So make sure you continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on Keek on the Mic. We got big news for the Chicago Bears, and the whole National Football League got good news yesterday as the NFL announced that the salary cap has taken a historic leap for the 2024 season and will be set for $255.4 million per team in 2024, a 30+ million rise over last season's cap. And this is great news for the Chicago Bears. The Bears now sit at $80.4 million heading into free agency, which is third in the National Football League. So Bears fans, let's spend some money. On today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I am going to show you guys exactly what I would do with all this cap space to improve our Chicago Bears roster. And as always, as I'm going through each player I would add to the Chicago Bears roster once free agency opens up on March 13th, go ahead and engage with me down below in the comment section and let me know if you were in Ryan Poles' shoes. Who would you add to the Chicago Bears roster with $80.4 million to spend? Bears fans, the very first thing I would do if I were GM Ryan Poles is franchise tag Jaylon Johnson. Of course, I want to see Jaylon Johnson get his bag. Of course, I want to see Jaylon Johnson sign a long-term deal with the Chicago Bears, but it's starting to look like it's not going to happen. So I think Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears just need to go ahead and franchise tag Jaylon Johnson. I don't think we are able to lose a guy like Jaylon Johnson. I understand that Tyreek Stevenson had a really good year. I understand that we have a lot of really good young cornerbacks on this football team, but I think Jaylon Johnson is the clear-cut cornerback one for this defense. He's a leader of the Chicago Bears defense. He's a leader of the Chicago Bears football team in general. So I think we have to understand that Jaylon Johnson is one of the major building blocks for this rebuild. And I just don't think the Chicago Bears can afford to lose a guy like Jaylon Johnson in free agency. So I think the Chicago Bears, Ryan Poles, should drop the franchise tag on Jaylon Johnson and then continue to try to work on a long-term extension to keep him in Chicago for the foreseeable future. If they do, in fact, franchise tag Jaylon Johnson, it would be worth $19.8 million guaranteed for 1 year, which to me, I know it seems like a high price, but I think Jaylon Johnson is worth that price, knowing the production that he has given the Chicago Bears, especially when you look at last season. Major contributor to the Chicago Bears defense and how good it was last season. So Jaylon Johnson, I would franchise tag him, and that would be the very first move I would do in free agency. Bears fans, the very first player I would go after in free agency is edge rusher Jonathan Greenard. I would sign him to a 3-year, $40.2 million contract, which is $13.4 million per year. He is 26 years old, stands at 6'3", 263 pounds. Alongside Will Anderson Jr., he was a standout edge rusher for the Houston Texans. In 2023, he had 12.5 sacks, 52 total tackles, 1 forced fumble, 53 quarterback pressures, and a 22% pass rush win rate in 2023, which is 6th amongst edge rushers in 2023. This guy can go through you. He can go around you. He can beat you in many different ways. He has a very high motor. Someone even compared him as like a velociraptor on the football field. This guy is a freak athlete. He would be a perfect complement to Montez Sweat. And to me, it'd be the perfect fit for the Chicago Bears defensive line. And obviously that $13.4 million per year is far cheaper than going out and getting a guy like Danielle Hunter and Brian Burns. And obviously you can get the same amount of production out of a guy like Jonathan Greenard and a guy that's going to continue to get better year in and year out. Bears fans, the next guy I would add to the Chicago Bears roster is wide receiver Curtis Samuel to a 2-year, $19 million contract, which is $9.5 million per year. He's 27 years old, stands at 5'11", 194 pounds. Everyone knows the relationship he has with DJ Moore dating back to their time with the Carolina Panthers. Curtis Samuel would bring a lot of value as a slot receiver, and he just brings that consistent production that we haven't had in our wide receiver 2 or even wide receiver 3 position. He is a very solid veteran and just consistent production over the last couple of years with the Washington Commanders. I know there's a lot of Washington Commanders fans hoping that they re-sign him, but if he does hit the open market, the Chicago Bears do need a mass overhaul at the wide receiver position, because after DJ Moore, all we have is Tyler Scott and Bayless Jones Jr. We need some more production in our wide receiver room. We need some more dependable wide receivers. Rather you stick with Justin Fields or go with a guy like Caleb Williams, and Curtis Samuel would offer just that for the wide receiver room. He would offer just that for the Chicago Bears offense. Bears fans, the next player I would add to the Chicago Bears roster, and this is a must for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears this offseason, is center Lloyd Cushenberry to a 4-year, $57 million contract, which is $14.25 million per year. He's only 26 years old, stands at 6'4", 315 pounds. Cushenberry had a fantastic year last season for the Denver Broncos. He has started 57 games in the last 4 seasons at the center position. In 17 games last year, he had 13 pressures allowed, 1 sack allowed. He was PFF's number 10 overall center, also the number 3 pass blocking center, according to PFF. Cushenberry will continue to get better. His passive run blocking continues to rise, and once again, he will continue to get better in that regard. He has great vision, footwork, and leadership as well. This will be a massive upgrade for the Chicago Bears offensive line. Once again, the interior offensive line has to get better for the Chicago Bears. And obviously, a center is a massive need for this football team. And I say it all the time on the podcast, Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears cannot continue to neglect the center position. I would sign Lloyd Cushenberry, and I would double down by drafting a center as well in the 2024 NFL draft. But center is a massive need for this Chicago Bears football team, and I think it will be a major upgrade getting a guy like Lloyd Cushenberry. Bears fans, the next player I would target in free agency, and this may come by some surprise to some of you guys, is guard Robert Hunt to a 3-year, $35.4 million contract, which is $11.8 million per year. He is 27 years old, stands at 6'6", 335 pounds. Last season, he had 1 sack allowed, 1 quarterback hit allowed, 5 total pressures allowed, and he had an overall PFF grade of 77.1. And a lot of Bears fans may comment down below on today's video and say, well, Keek, why do we need a guard? We have Tevin Jenkins and Nate Davis. Obviously, Tevin Jenkins does get hurt quite a lot. He is solid when he's in the game, but his availability is a big question mark. And then when you look at a guy like Nate Davis, he underperformed in year 1 with the Chicago Bears. Obviously, we can give Nate Davis another chance, but I think bringing in another guy like Robert Hunt and competing with Nate Davis, I don't think that would hurt whatsoever. Competition never hurts, especially when we look at Nate Davis last year. He had 1 sack allowed, 7 quarterback hits allowed, 29 total pressures allowed. He had an overall PFF grade of 52.9. Bears fans, that is not good enough. I think Robert Hunt would add some much needed competition to the offensive line. I believe Robert Hunt would actually be a major upgrade to the Chicago Bears offensive line and Nate Davis. But overall, you can bring Robert Hunt in. He can compete with Nate Davis. Whoever ends up winning that battle between Robert Hunt and Nate Davis, I think it ends up being a positive situation because you have a really good starting guard and a really good backup guard as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. Depth is just as important as the starters for the Chicago Bears football team. Bears fans, the last player I would target in free agency is edge rusher AJ Epinesa to a 2-year, $11 million contract, which is $5.5 million per year. Epinesa is 25 years old, stands at 6'6", 260 pounds, and Epinesa would be a great fit for the Chicago Bears defensive line. Firstly, new Bears DC Eric Washington was his D-line coach while in Buffalo. So obviously that relationship is still there. It would just be a nice transition for Epinesa to become a Chicago Bear because of that relationship. Epinesa also had a very solid year with the Buffalo Bills, 7 sacks, 18 hurries, and 29 total pressures. And this is a guy that's going to continue to get better. And honestly, in today's video, Kicking the Mic, I decided to double dip at the edge rusher position with Jonathan Greenard and obviously AJ Epinesa. And basically, I get 2 very solid pass rushers that are going to continue to get better for the price of 1. Yes, we can go out and get a guy like Danielle Hunter. That's going to cost you about $20+ million per year. Or you can get a guy like AJ Epinesa and Jonathan Greenard. Both have really good seasons last year for the price of 1, for less than $20 million per year. To me, these two guys would make the defensive line a whole lot better. And then you're looking at a rotation with Montez Sweat, Jonathan Greenard, DeMarcus Walker, and AJ Epinesa. I think that is a very good defensive line, a very good pass rushing group going into next season for the Chicago Bears. And I think it would be a perfect fit to bring Epinesa in to the Chicago Bears defensive line. So overall, Bears fans, these are the players I would target personally if I were GM Ryan Poles once free agency opens up on March 13th. Obviously, I double dipped at the edge rusher position with Jonathan Greenard and AJ Epinesa, addressed the center position with Lloyd Cushenberry, add a guard and Robert Hunt. Also added a very solid slot wide receiver in Curtis Samuel, a guy that has been productive over the last couple of years with the Washington Commanders. And I also decided to franchise tag Jalen Johnson. I understand a lot of you guys may go a different route, possibly adding another free safety to replace Eddie Jackson. I decided to opt to do that in the NFL draft. I like what I see out of the free safety position in the 2024 NFL draft. That's why I decided to skip it and focus on different holes that the Bears have and different needs that the Bears have on the Chicago Bears roster in free agency. But overall, I wouldn't complain at all if Ryan Poles and Chicago Bears actually got this done. I think all the players I list on today's episode of Geek on the Mic would be instant upgrades and would help the Chicago Bears become a better football team overall. So I'd be very pleased if this actually happened for the Chicago Bears during the free agency period. But overall, Bears fans, let me know how you think I did on today's video. Do you guys like the players I added to the Chicago Bears roster? And if you were in GM Ryan Poles' shoes, what players would you add with $80.4 million to spend starting on March 13th? But other than that, Bears fans, make sure you continue to hit the subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Geek on the Mic is on path for 13,000 subscribers. So once again, I appreciate everything you guys do and all the support you guys show and continue to show to Geek on the Mic. I really, really appreciate it. Make sure you also follow me on all social media platforms and share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for our all new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys. And as always, bear down.
You've been listening to Geek on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.